Ben Lake.
Diolch, Madam Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Alloa and Grangemouth, and I should like to begin by congratulating the Honourable Member for Salford for securing this debate and for being such a champion of this cause throughout the many years. And Madam Deputy Speaker, it has been too many years that we've had to debate this injustice in this House, whether on these green benches or indeed in other chambers on the estate. And it is a point of great sorrow for me personally that one of my first speeches as a Member of Parliament back in 2017 was on this injustice, and little could I have imagined back then that I'd be a little bit older, 3 elections down, and still having to debate the injustice that has befallen so many 1950s born women. I think the Honourable Lady for Salford covered the entire injustice so eloquently that I only want to add a few more points, or to emphasise a few points, and that they are as follows, Madam Deputy Speaker. The first is that we are talking here of a generation of women that I highly admire. They were women that suffered injustice and indeed throughout their working lives great disadvantages. They were often not paid in line with their male colleagues. They were also not entitled to the same opportunities when it came to private pensions, for example. And that injustice itself, I think, is important to highlight because it does bear relevance on what we are talking about today. Now, we are, of course, aware of the changes that were initiated by the 2 Pension Acts that caused the change to the state pension age for 1950s born women. But I think what is really unacceptable is that having brought the injustice to our attention, Members of Parliament from across the island of Great Britain and indeed Northern Ireland, the fact of the matter is we asked many women in our constituencies to organise, to campaign. We asked them diligently to undertake the various processes that were available to them to right this wrong, and it all culminated with the Ombudsman process. And the Ombudsman, as we've already heard, found that there had been maladministration, that there has been an injustice, and that far too many 1950s born women have suffered as a consequence. I think it is absolutely outrageous, therefore, that we then have a government not only disregarding the recommendations in part or trying to water them down, but dismissing them outright. And as other right honourable members have already made it very eloquently, this goes to the very heart of our democracy and indeed faith in the administrations and the institutions of the state to right these terrible wrongs. Now, I understand from representations made by the campaign groups in my own constituency, both the WASPI and the 1950s born women of Wales, that they are keen to seek this resolution to ensure some justice for them and their fellow 1950s born women. And they're being very pragmatic, Madam Deputy Speaker. They are willing to speak and discuss with the government. And that, I suppose, is what I would plead with the Minister today, is to reconsider the opportunity that has been presented by these groups to discuss other ways of bringing a resolution forward so that my 1950s born women can at long last have some justice, because we shouldn't force them to go through the judicial review process and drag them through the courts. Far too long, far too many years have already been spent righting this wrong, and I will end on this point. We can't delay any further because estimates suggest that over 300,000 1950s born women have already passed away since this injustice came to light. And that is, I understand, equivalent to another 1950s born woman dying every 12 minutes. So there is an opportunity here to get back around the table, and I would urge the Minister and the Government to do so.